Welcome to the Cisco Secure Analytics Network Detection and Response tutorial series. My name is Rennie, and I'm a Technical Solutions Architect for Secure Analytics at Cisco. In this tutorial, I will be showing you how to monitor trusted third-party and remote employees of VPN access in Secure Analytics. Before we begin, let's review the benefit to your enterprise in using Cisco Secure Analytics. As we know, the way we work has changed a lot. And what we can see is the future of the workplace is going to be hybrid. That is, increased percentages of the workforce will be working remotely, either permanently or on an ad hoc basis. These remote workers are no longer protected by the traditional perimeter defenses of the network. While working remotely, they can bypass perimeter defenses via a trusted VPN connection and expose that internal network to insider threats and hence increase the attack surface. We need a way to monitor these trusted third parties and remote workers and automatically block them if they breach those security policies. This is where Cisco Secure Network Analytics comes in. It gives the ability for us to get contextual network-wide visibility of what's happening on our networks using agentless techniques. Also, it gives us the ability to do predictive threat analytics using a combination of behavioral modeling, machine learning, and global threat intelligence. With that predictive analytics, we can then automate the detection of those risks and automate the response to them, the remediation. In this use case environment, we will be using Secure Network Access Manager 7.3.0 or later, Secure Network Analytics Flow Collector 7.3.0 or later, Cisco Identity Services Engine 2.4 or later, AnyConnect 4.2 or later, and any version of NetFlow meeting the minimum supported fields. As we'll see in the demonstration of the use case here, it consists of four main steps. The first step is we will connect using the AnyConnect MVM module to VPN into the corporate or internal network. We'll initiate a reconnaissance attack from the remote worker laptop, and then from the same remote worker laptop, we'll attempt to connect to a compliance server on the internal network or corporate network, which by policy is not allowed. From the Secure Network Access Manager, we will view those indicators of compromise generated by the recon attack, and we will see that the remote worker laptop was automatically quarantined or blocked by Identity Services Engine when it attempted to connect to the off-limits compliance server. In our environment, we have a remote workstation, which we're currently viewing at the moment, and we have what we call a local workstation, which is on the internal corporate network. As you can see from the remote workstation, this is representing the remote worker. What I'm going to do here is connect by AnyConnect VPN module here. I'm going to connect into the corporate, establish a connection, and then run what we'll call a scan of the network. So let me just log in quickly. And you'll see establish a VPN connection. So I'm coming in remotely through the VPN head end, and I can see the connection is established. What I'm also going to do here is use ZenMap just to simulate a reconnaissance attack from that remote workstation that I'm on. So this is simulating as if the remote workstation has been compromised and there's some malware on there that's scanning now the internal network. And you see it will run through various discoveries. While that's running, I'm also now going to click on this link here. We have a link shortcut, which will take us directly to what we call the compliance server. You'll see here, what it does is quickly establish a connection to an LC Tomcat package on our compliance server. Now, if you remember, in this particular use case, this server should not be contactable from the remote workstation, and this should trigger basically the VPN connection to be automatically severed or blocked because of this inappropriate action. This will take about a minute or two to happen. As you can see, the VPN connection has now dropped. And once I acknowledge that message, if I try to log back in, what you'll see is that this will actually fail. And you see the login is failed. That's because this host is now being automatically quarantined and being blocked, so we can no longer establish a connection until we clear this remote host up. You also see that the recon or scan going on here on ZMAP will now start to time out. If I go to the local workstation on the internal side of the network or on the corporate network and look at the SNA dashboard, we can see here that there's actually 2 recon alerts. And actually this IP address here, 198.1.10.100, is actually my VPN or my remote workstation. And you can see it's got a slew of alerts here. We've got policy violation, recon, anomaly, and concern index. The recon is because of that ZMAP activity that we're doing. So it's generating a lot of noise because we're scanning on there. So what we could do in one particular use case is actually click on that host and manually quarantine it if we wanted to. But in this particular case, there was no need to do that, as we've got it auto-configured to do that. So if we go to the Monitor tab and go to ICE ANC assignments, what we'll see listed in here is actually the IP address of our remote host. And you can see it's got the MAC address, automatic enforcement, and it was actually generated by the responsive management module. What I can do, if I want to unquarantine this particular host, I allow it back in since we've cleaned it, I can click on the assign policy here, click none, or I can do it from the top menu. And what we'll see when we refresh this, that we will be able to log back in from that remote workstation. So I just go back to my remote workstation and I try to connect and I try to log back in. What we'll see is the connection will now re-establish as expected. There we go. So that's showing that use case. If you want to see a bit more detail how that actually works, we can go into the configure menu here. We can look firstly at what we call policy management. So I click on policy management. What we've done to automatically remediate or block that host is written something called a custom security event. And that's down here. This is basically a rule where we said that anybody that connects to our host group, which is our container, which has a compliance server in, then basically carry out this response action. If I click on edit, we can have a quick view of the details of that. So it's a very simple rule. It says when any host within protected assets monitoring host group communicates with any host except those that are listed here, then raise an alarm. What we've done then in the response management is said here, we've created a rule. And in the rule, what we've said is that if anybody, auto mitigation here, anybody generates from that CSC will carry out a certain action. So if I just click on edit and show you that. So what we're saying here, the rule is triggered if any type, or the type is this CSC rule that we've written. So that means if anything communicates to that host group that we configured in a custom security event or CSC rule, then this rule applies. And you can see the associated action now, when this rule triggers, is to auto mitigate the source. And we can see what that action is, or a bit more detail on the action. We click on actions and look at the auto mitigation source here. Click on those 3 dots and we can edit that. And you can see when the CSC rule triggers, when the CSC rule triggers, it generates a response rule which then calls this action. And this action is basically sends an ANC policy to ICE, Identity Service Engine, and the name of the policy is quarantine. So ICE knows what to do. ICE will then do a radius change of authorization and kick that particular host off the network and will not allow it back on to the network until we tell it to.
If you're interested in learning more, sign up for a test drive. This is where you'll receive hands-on experience in our online dCloud environment. You can also sign up for a free visibility assessment where you can test out the software in your environment. Also check out the features and benefits of Cisco Secure Network Analytics at cisco.com/secure. go/secure network analytics.